your eyes slowly open to a bright white light. And it feels warm and familiar. It feels like home. And your whole family is there to meet you. Your entire life flashes before your eyes like scenes from a movie. The good, the bad, even the awful things you've done. But everything comes together. It finally makes sense. With this enormous weight off your shoulders, the memory of your life starts to fade just like a dream. A familiar voice says, "We're happy you're here, we missed you, but you can't stay." What? You just got here. You're getting kicked out already? The voice says, "They need you, but we'll see you again when the time is right." And you know somehow the voice is telling the truth. Suddenly a burst of red-hot pain rips through your chest. It feels like every single cell in your body is on fire. You can't breathe. A scream forces your eyes open. It's a blood-curdling scream, like an animal being eaten alive. Then you realize the scream is coming from you. You're in a hospital bed surrounded by doctors and nurses. They all take a step back, stunned. They're staring at you. But why? Well, you just came back from the dead. In 1901, Duncan McDougall volunteered at the Cullis home in Roxbury, Massachusetts. Though he ran a small medical practice on Main Street, he spent a lot of time treating terminally ill tuberculosis patients at the home. It's estimated that tuberculosis, or consumption, has killed 1 in 7 of all people who've ever lived. The symptoms include a bloody, hacking cough, debilitating pain, and like McDougal used to give spare hours to the mostly church-run facilities for tuberculosis patients for free.
Yeah, they don't make people like that anymore.
Well, they do, but they're not as common as they used to be.
I blame cell phones, social media, and K-pop.
Ice cream, ice cream, ice cream.
Since medical school, McDougal and his colleagues often discussed what happens to our consciousness.
Get paid up to 2 days early with direct deposit. Install the Chime app today and get started.
This episode of the Y-Files is brought to you by World of Warships. Really? Today of all days?
I'm sorry, but, what are you wearing? Did I interrupt nap time at the petting zoo?
No, today...
Hang on. Hello, Bo Peep. Yeah, I found him. He's safe and assured.
Okay, that's enough.
Oh!
Today we're doing the Sleepy Time compilation. Remember the episode to help people fall asleep?
Oh, that's every episode lately.
Can you just get in here, please?
No can do. A matter of galactic botanical significance has arisen, requiring my immediate scientific scrutiny.
What are you talking about?
Oh, well, remember those amphibians snapped by after visiting Uranus? Well, they left me those blobby seeds, and,
You better not have...
I'm sprouted!
That plant looks weird. Did it just make a sound?
Yeah, it's trying to communicate.
Yeah, maybe you shouldn't get too close to that thing.
Oh, this is nothing compared to the Beaver Fight Club I ran out of your basement.
You did what?
Sorry, human. Gotta go do science!
I'm sure that's all gonna be fine. Okay, so Sleepy Time compilation. We cut out all the sponsor ads and all the loud music at the end. So you can just fall asleep to these episodes. This was by request, so this is a nice, long compilation tonight. So grab your jammies, and let's start with simulation theory.
Human. I need the company credit card pronto. Admiral Bluefin just backed out of sponsoring the prizes for my tournament.
What tournament?
The Veterans of the Seven Seas tournament. Only the most prestigious naval combat competition this side of the Atlantic. But it's gonna be expensive. We got tactical simulations, strategic challenges, and a synchronized swimming event that separates the guppies from the groupers.
I am not giving you the company credit card for this.
Oh, come on, my reputation is on the line. You know how hard I work for these medals? This purple fin is for bravery in the face of a hungry pelican. The tactical toilet escape ribbon, that's for surviving 5 consecutive flesh naps. And the Sardine Service Award for cramming 17 fellow soldiers into a single escape submarine.
If these veterans are so elite, why not let them test their skills in World of Warships?
Hang on a minute. Did you just navigate our fleet into sponsored waters?
I absolutely did. World of Warships is a free-to-play naval combat game available on PC with over 600 historically accurate ships to command. Destroyers, battleships, cruisers, even aircraft carriers. And it's not just about explosions. There's strategy involved. Choose your ships, plan your attacks, and lead your fleet in 12v12 PvP battles. With weekly updates, new missions, and seasonal events, there's always something new. Speaking of new, the Headless Horseman has joined World of Warships with a cursed commander and ghostly ship skin. Unleash terror with an eerie glow and a merciless commander. Use code HEADLESS to get an exclusive starter pack with 500 doubloons, 1.5 million credits, a 7-day premium account, and a Headless Horseman commander and ship skin. Plus, after 15 battles, choose a free ship. Wakataka, St. Louis, or Vandertam. World of Warships is free to play. Get started today by clicking the link down in the description.
This is perfect. We'll make it the grand prize and use it for qualifiers. Lieutenant, update the tournament itinerary. And make sure the restrooms are labeled port and starboard. We don't want another situation like last year. Captain speaking. What do you mean the venue's been double booked?
Problem?
The convention center double booked us with the annual Angelfish beauty pageant. No, we're not sharing the space. survive torpedo attacks to share a stage with fish who think naval service means wearing a seashell bikini. Look, I gotta go. The pageant moms are storming the perimeter. Trust me, human, there's no more fearsome enemy than a divorcee with a spray tan, a child, and a dream. Battle stations, boys, and don't let them near my glitter.
Is this reality? Well, we're experiencing something right now, so maybe the better question is, what is reality? Could everything we see, everything we experience, everything that exists in our entire universe be artificial? Supporters of simulation theory believe that not only is it possible that we're living in a simulation, it's likely, and the more we look for evidence, the more we find. Let's find out why. The idea of the universe being a simulation is not a new one. Theories exist in ancient cultures around the world. Modern simulation theory comes from Nick Bostrom, a philosopher at Oxford who wrote an influential paper on the subject in 2003. Assuming that living in a simulation is possible, Bostrom presents the simulation trilemma, which says one of the following must be true. 1, we destroy ourselves before we're able to create a simulation. 2, we're able to create a simulation but choose not to. Or 3, we are definitely in a simulation. Bostrom believes each of these is equally likely to be true. And I don't think that's controversial. We use computer models to study the human population, predict the weather, for entertainment. We simulate everything. And when a civilization can create a realistic simulation, the most obvious one to create is that of its own early existence. Bostrom calls this an ancestral simulation, and a civilization that can do this wouldn't just create one simulation, it would create many. And those simulated civilizations might create their own simulations of the universe, and on like Russian nesting dolls of reality.
Now you're a character in that world and you think you have free will. You say, I'm going to invent a computer, so you do. Hey, I'm going to create a world in my computer. And then that world creates a world in its computer. And then you have simulations all the way down.
When Elon Musk was asked what he thought the chances were that our reality is the original base reality,
The odds that we're in base reality is 1 in billions.
Neil deGrasse Tyson is a little more conservative. He thinks the odds that we are in base reality versus a simulated reality is 50-50. A 50-50 chance that everything we experience is artificial, that's still pretty high. And even though we mostly hear what scientists think about this, it's not scientific theory. Simulation theory isn't math, it's philosophy. It isn't physics, it's metaphysics. So what we need is hard evidence that we live in a simulation. And to find proof, all you have to do is look.
1099 self-employed workers.
That's us.
It is, and it reminds me, you know Everlance, yeah?
Everlance.
Ever heard of Everlance?
Okay, I thought it was implied, but no, I have not. Go on.
Let me just give you a bit of an overview. First off, it's an app that's available on iOS and Android.
What are you, a spokesperson for Everlance?
I just get excited about this kind of stuff. Okay, so
Let's start at the beginning. There was no space or time. The contents of the entire universe were concentrated to the size of a tennis ball and had a temperature of a quadrillion degrees. Then suddenly, the Big Bang. Everything explodes outward faster than the speed of light. Then about 14 billion years later, we've got galaxies and planets and ice cream and K-pop.
Yeah, I could do without the K-pop.
Me too. Okay, if before the Big Bang there was no space and no time, what was there? What about the beginning of the universe from the religious point of view? God created everything. Fine. Where was he before? What caused the Big Bang to happen in the first place? What made God decide to snap his fingers or wiggle his nose or whatever he did to make everything happen? If you ask a physicist to explain what existed before the universe, they'll give you an answer about quantum foam, dark energy, or something just as bonkers as the Big Bang. Ask a theologian what existed before God created the universe, and you'll get an answer equally as confusing. But what does make sense is that the universe was just sitting there dormant. Then someone somewhere decided to boot up a program. And in that program, our program, are all the laws of the universe. Electromagnetism and gravitational force are written into the program. The speed of light gets a value. There's code for Planck's constants of mass, speed, and time. Avogadro's numbers in there, along with a bunch of other rules that govern the behavior of everything that exists. All all part of our program. Even consciousness itself is part of our simulation. If you've never heard of simulation theory, then this might sound far-fetched. But some of the world's most respected scientists, technologists, and philosophers believe that it is more likely than not that we are living in an artificial reality. So, how do we prove it? If we live in an artificial reality, it would make sense for there to be occasional glitches. Philip K. Dick is one of the most influential science fiction writers of all time. Movies based on his books include Blade Runner, Total Recall, Minority Report, The Adjustment Bureau, and plenty of others. He believed there are many universes, and sometimes those other realities bleed into ours. He claimed to have visions of this, and even wrote stories like The Man in the High Castle based on these visions.
That in fact, plural realities did exist, superimposed onto one another, like so many film transparencies.
One way other realities blend into ours could be the Mandela effect. The Mandela effect is when a large number of people have memories of events that don't match reality. This is called the Mandela effect because millions of people specifically remember Nelson Mandela died in prison. He didn't. People remember his wife walking beside his casket in a funeral procession that was on television for 2 hours that day. This never happened. Or the Berenstain Bears, which people insist were always called the Berenstein Bears. People remember the tycoon from Monopoly having a monocle that he never had. What was Darth Vader famous for saying?
Luke, I am your father.
Nope, he never said that.
What?
What about Stouffer's stovetop stuffing?
Best part of Thanksgiving.
No, it isn't, because there's no such product. Stovetop is made by Kraft.
No.
The evil queen from Snow White who looked into her mirror and said,
Mirror, mirror on the wall.
nope.
Magic mirror on the wall. Who is the fairest one of all?
My reality is shattered.
People remember Febreze being spelled with 2 E's. People remember Jiffy peanut butter, but there's no such thing. And there are a lot more. A lot more. Personally, I don't have most of these false memories, but there are a few that get me. The Flintstones. There are 2 T's in the Flintstones. I remember just one. And what about the Fruit of the Loom logo? I could swear it looks like this. But it doesn't. This is the actual logo. No cornucopia.
Corny what now?
Basket.
Then just say basket for crying out loud.
And at the end of Moonraker, a terrible but excellent James Bond movie, I remember Jaws' girlfriend as having braces. I mean, I specifically remember it. She didn't have braces. I just can't get my brain to accept it. That's the Mandela effect. So why do millions of people distinctly remember different things?
Glitch in a simulation.
Yep. Philip K. Dick also felt when we experienced deja vu is because something in our simulated universe changed and a new timeline branched off of the current one.
We are living in a computer-programmed reality, and the only will we have is when some variable is changed.
Ever feel like you've lived a moment before? That's because, according to Philip K. Dick and others, you have. Deja vu is the simulation correcting itself with new information. But skeptics can easily dismiss these theories. The human mind is terribly unreliable. They don't accept this as evidence. But we're not done yet.
Real short movies and TV. Download today and get started. Find the perfect hotel for you on the Booking.com app. Choose from hundreds of filters and book with ease. Download the app today.
We live in a huge universe, 200 billion trillion stars. And even if life is rare, you'd think there'd be some evidence of it somewhere. This is Fermi's paradox. But according to the Drake equation, there should be over 1 million.
Hey, Casey, I'm trying to understand what Elaine is all about. I'm actually doing my homework.
Technological technologically advanced civilizations just in our galaxy, and on average, the nearest one should be just a few hundred light years away. But there's nothing, at least not that we can see. So, where is everybody? Are we really alone in the universe, or does our program only focus on us? And what about the physical rules that are in place? Max Tegmark, a cosmologist at MIT, said the strict laws of physics point to the possibility of a simulation.
That's funny, right?
A cap on the speed of light sure is a good way
I swear to God, this is the funniest shit I've ever heard. The only way you're gonna understand is you're gonna have to listen to a lot. And once you go down this rabbit hole, I hope I can come back. If that makes any kind of sense.
Your Sims from venturing out too far from home. Theoretical physicist James Gates thought simulation theory was crazy. Then he started studying quarks and electrons. He found error-correcting code buried deep inside the equations used to describe string theory.
So you're saying as you dig deeper, you find computer code writ in the fabric of the cosmos? Into the equations that we want to use to describe the cosmos, yes. Computer code, strings of bits of ones and zeros.
Dr. Gates has changed his mind about simulation theory. In 2017, a group of scientists at the University of Washington proved they can embed computer code into strands of DNA. Everything in nature is math. Look at
Apparently
the
it's
Fibonacci
more
sequence.
apparently it's
Maybe
more
the Fibonacci
complicated than
sequence
that.
By adding two previous numbers sequence together.
There's
So
electrons
1 + 1 =
involved,
2. 2 + 1
computers
= 3.
involved.
3 + 2 = 5.
Look, electrons and computers and simulation, something about computers.
5 + 3 = 8, and so on. Forever. You get the golden ratio, also called phi, by dividing two consecutive
That's funny.
Fibonacci numbers. So the number 89 is a Fibonacci number. The next number in the sequence after 89 is 144. 144 divided by 89 is the golden ratio. It's about 1.618. We see Fibonacci numbers and the golden ratio everywhere. The number of petals on a flower is usually a Fibonacci number. Lilies have 3 petals, buttercups have 5, chicory has 21, and a daisy has 34. And the spacing of each petal is arranged in a circle according to the golden ratio. As trees grow, the number of branches they form is a Fibonacci number. And not just plants, animals too. The ratio of female to male honeybees in a colony is the golden ratio, 1.618. The human body conforms to the golden ratio too. Most of the body follows the numbers 1, 2, 3, and 5. 1 nose, 2 eyes, 3 limb segments, 5 fingers, 5 toes. The proportions of the body, like the length of your shoulder to your elbow, and from your elbow to your fingertips, that's the golden ratio. Even a DNA molecule measures 34 angstroms long by 21 angstroms wide. Fibonacci numbers and the golden ratio. From the spiral of seashells to the spiral of a galaxy and everything in between, Fibonacci numbers are everywhere. Now, some claim this is a coincidence. The humans look for patterns in chaos because that's what we're programmed to do.
What we're programmed to do.
And isn't that interesting? By trying to debunk simulation theory, they actually end up proving it. No matter what we study, whether it's something the size of a galaxy or as small as an electron, everything in the universe seems to follow patterns and rules. In other words, a program.
You sick of reading? Well, Speechify makes it easy to learn on the fly.
I have to do a lot of reading for my job. You know, emails, contracts, PDFs. To stay focused, I use a free Google Chrome extension called Speechify. It's like the voice of the internet. I get a play button everywhere. So if I click play on email, it reads. If I click play on a PDF, it reads. If I have physical books, I take a picture, it reads.
Speechify can read to you in the highest quality digital voices available anywhere.
So let's say you have to read an incredibly long email from your boss that you have to finish before the big meeting starts in 10 minutes. Or you're cramming for an exam the night before, but can't bear to keep your eyes open to read one more textbook chapter. Or you're reviewing a dense legal document that could change your life forever. Or you're proofreading your thesis one last time before you submit it to make sure there aren't any errors. No matter what you have to read, we could all use a second pair of eyes to help us retain information and put our best foot forward. Enter Speechify, a reading assistant powered by artificial intelligence and deep learning, and designed consciously for students and working professionals who want to get more done. Speechify does the reading for you, so you can spend less energy reading and more energy comprehending. Choose your listening speed. Start at 230 words per minute and build to 500 words per minute, which is 2.5 times faster than most people read. Choose from a range of incredible voices that use human inflection, so you can stay engaged without getting tired.
And I found it makes it so easy to not only focus, but also retain and understand and comprehend the things that I'm listening to. So if, like me, you find reading boring, or it's difficult for you to focus, download Speechify for iOS and for Chrome. Changed my life. It might do the same for you.
I'm gonna give you this designer bag if you can prove to me that you know your finances.
Well, let's do it.
How many subscriptions do you have?
Probably just Netflix and Spotify.
All right, it's saying you have 13 subscriptions, which is costing you around $270 a month.
What? The app is telling you all of this?
It shows you all your expenses in one place, and it can even help you create a budget, which I think you need.
Coming from me, but okay.
Don't worry about those 13 subscriptions you didn't know you had. You can cancel the ones you don't want right through the app, and it can even help you try and get a refund.
To simulate an entire universe, you'd obviously need more advanced technology than we have. But that doesn't mean we won't get there. Moore's law says that computing power doubles every 18 months. And this has held true for about 50 years. Now, that is slowing down a little bit, but only because of physical limitations. Assuming we can learn to make microchips smaller, and there's no doubt that we will, it's predicted that artificial intelligence could surpass human intelligence within the next 100 years. As Elon Musk points out, when he was a kid, the world's most advanced video game was Pong, 2 rectangles on a screen. 40 years later, video game technology is barely distinguishable from reality. He said that 6 years ago. And even in that short time, video game engines have become even more realistic. Look at this footage from Unreal Engine 5.
When a world we can build feels as real as our own.
Imagine what games are going to look like in the next 6 years, or the next 60, or the next 6,000. But simulating an entire universe, how big of a computer will we need? Well, it's estimated that there are 10 to the power of 80 atoms in the universe. Let me put that on the screen just for fun. Okay, that's a lot. If each particle needs 128 bits to calculate its position and momentum, you're at 10 to the power of 83 bits. And that's just for data storage. We also need computing power to track what each of those particles is doing. If we say 2 floating point operations per second, or 2 flops per particle, we're at 2 times 10 to the 80th power flops. There aren't even words for these numbers. And this is the computing power for just this stuff in the universe. What about human intelligence? The human brain can perform 100 trillion calculations per second, or 100 teraflops. Multiplied by billions of people, the numbers are ridiculous. To power all of this, the simulation would need access to multiple Dyson spheres, the megastructures that capture 100% of the energy of a star. Or the simulation would have to harness the energy from black holes. This is why famous physicists like Dr. Michio Kaku are not on board with simulation theory. He claims that simulating a universe is not scientifically possible. The only computer capable of simulating a universe is the universe itself. Now, at first glance, this makes sense. But with all due respect to Dr. Kaku, that's not how simulations work. When you're playing a 3D video game, the entire game world isn't rendered. Instead, the game engine only calculates what the player can see and interact with at that specific moment. If we are living in a simulation, then it would make sense that the creators of the simulation would use a similar technique. Now, wouldn't it be interesting if there was evidence that this is exactly what happens?
Well, wait a minute. Do we have proof? Sweet fancy Moses!
Supporters of simulation theory often point to video games as a way to explain, if not prove, that our reality is artificial. In a video game, the only data that is rendered is what the player sees or interacts with. If you're playing a video game and there's a car or building a mile away, that entire object isn't rendered. The game engine only renders the bare minimum of information to make the object look real. A distant building is rendered as just a few pixels, not that complicated. As you get closer, the engine renders more details, but still, it's just a facade. The engine doesn't bother calculating what's inside the building to actually go in. The game engine always knows how much data to send you and doesn't bother with anything else. If we live in a simulation, it would make sense that our reality is rendered the same way. And we can test this.
Wait, what do you mean we can test this?
Specifically, we can use the double slit experiment. Here's how it goes. If we fire particles in a straight line at a screen, after passing through a single slit, we would expect to see this clumping pattern on the screen. If we try this with a wave, we expect to see a pattern like this, where particles are most dense in the middle of the screen but radiate outward, similar to the clumping pattern. When we add a second slit, it starts to get fun. When the waves pass through the double slit, each slit creates its own wave. When those waves intersect, they cancel each other out. That creates a pattern like this. It's called an interference pattern. So, particles passing through two slits create clumping patterns. Waves through two slits creates an interference pattern. Make sense?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Good. If we fire electrons through the slit, we see the clumping pattern as expected. An electron has mass, so it's a tiny bit of matter. So if we fire electrons through two slits, we should see two clumps. But we don't. We see the wave interference pattern. This shouldn't be happening. What's going on here? For years, scientists assumed that the electrons were colliding with each other, causing the wave pattern. But in the 60s, the experiment was modified so that only one electron at a time was fired through the slits. There was no way the electrons could interact with each other, yet we still see an interference pattern. Scientists wanted to see what was causing this, so they added a detector to observe electrons as they pass through the slits. That's when things go from weird to paranormal. As soon as the detectors were installed, the interference pattern went away and the clumping pattern returned. Take the detectors away and the wave interference pattern is back.
But that's a different result to what we had earlier. So here's a little bit of sneakiness that we can play with atoms. Surely now, we're going to get to grips with it. Leave the detector there, but just very quietly go and unplug it. Don't let the atoms know that you're not spying on them. Run the experiment again. Now, if you can explain this using common sense and logic, do let me know. Because there's a Nobel Prize for you.
It's as if the particles are aware they're being observed. Then physicist John Wheeler had an idea. He called it the delayed choice experiment. How it works is, photons are projected through the double slit, but the detector is not activated until after they pass through the slit, but before they impact the screen. Photons were emitted as waves, passed through the slits as waves, but when the waves were observed before hitting the screen, they suddenly behaved like particles again. Still don't think there's an intelligence at work? Well, what Wheeler's experiment showed is that even though the electrons started as waves but behaved like particles after being observed, at the moment the decision to observe them was made, the electrons recorded themselves as having passed through the slits as particles. The electrons changed their state by going back in time.
I personally find that I gravitate more towards the information theoretic point of view and believing that the universe that I exist in is a very good, high-quality simulation.
Now, this experiment is happening in a lab a very short distance. So what happens when we observe light coming from vast distances, like say a galaxy 100 million light years away? If light from a distant galaxy is projected through the double slit, it creates the wave interference pattern. But if we push those photons through a measuring apparatus to observe them, the wave again collapses all the way back to its source. This is called retrocausality. Simply by choosing to observe the photons this way, they reach back through time 100 million years and alter their state on the other side of the galaxy. But like a video game engine, it only does this if we're looking. Even though our universe is full of galaxies, those galaxies may not actually be there. If we're living in a simulation, then stars and galaxies could simply be projections, and only when we get up close will those projections become more detailed. This is an excellent way to save computational resources, and because we're stuck with the hard limit of the speed of light, getting to far-off places is really difficult. Limiting the speed of light is a useful rule to have in place. Quantum mechanics like the double slit experiment and quantum entanglement only make sense if there's a program at work, because only the program can ignore the laws of physics. simulation? How come UFOs seem to violate the laws of physics? Well, because they're programs operated by the simulation creators. They don't have to follow the laws of physics.
Yeah, but who created the simulation?
Well, that's the big question, isn't it? When you think of the simulation creator as an omniscient intelligence who exists outside of our understanding of space and time, it sounds an awful lot like you're describing God. And just like you can't prove we're not in the simulation, you can't prove there is no God. If something miraculous happens or something horrible happens, you can say it's part of the simulation just as easily as you can say it's part of God's plan. Something I find very interesting is that many believers of simulation theory are fierce atheists. They dismiss the idea of God as corny superstition. And there are plenty of devoutly religious people who dismiss provable science like evolution and the age of the earth. People on the religious side say that if there is no God and life is just a simulation, then nothing matters. Without God to guide us and sometimes punish us, depending on what you believe, our actions don't have consequences. I disagree. Even if we don't live in base reality, we still live in our reality, and our actions here do have consequences. As for what happens after we die, simulation or not, nobody really knows. Both sides argue that faith and science are not compatible. Isn't this hypocritical? Whether you believe in God or you believe in simulation theory, the real question is, what's the difference?
Folks, this is just staggering stuff. Again, I've become obsessed with this idea. By the way, that's the Y-Files. That was a YouTube video. It's really amazing.
So the deputy director of the FBI watches the Y-Files. It's no big deal. Something to brag about. All right, what do we got next? Episode number 4, ASMR. Luckily, it's less than 8 minutes of cringe, so I will see you then.
Today we're going to try and explain ASMR, what it is, how it works, and why millions of people are watching ASMR videos.
Yeah, I don't get the whole dungeon thing at all.
Dungeon? What do you
And who could be comfortable in all that leather?
No, you're thinking of something different. The ASMR, it causes people to feel the tingling sensations all over their body.
I think we're talking about the same videos.
We're not.
These are the ones where they pick a safe word, right?
No.
Peanut brittle.
We don't need
I guess that's 2 words, right?
ASMR has nothing to do with
Platypus.
Welcome to the Y-Files, where high IQ folks like us come to laugh and learn. Today we're talking about ASMR, or Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response, which is a pleasurable, tingling feeling that some people experience when exposed to certain stimuli. The sensation is described as starting at the top of the head and then running all the way down the spine, and some people will feel it in their extremities, fingers, toes, limbs. Those are extremities. No idea what I'm talking about. That's okay. Most people don't. ASMR is pretty new, but there's an active and rapidly growing community online of ASMR enthusiasts. What makes ASMR such an interesting phenomenon is that not everyone experiences it, and the people that do, they have different triggers. Common triggers are whispering, finger tapping, clicking, hair brushing. Some people, if you crumple a piece of paper right up against their ear, they'll have what ASMR folks call a braingasm.
Oh, every time someone hits the like button, I feel a tingling in my dorsal fin. Oh boy, someone just did it.
I felt that too.
No, pity me. Ooh.
Okay, ease up on the like button. We don't want Hecklefish to stroke out.
Wow.
So what's actually happening to the brain and body during an ASMR experience? The science is still pretty thin, but research is underway. In 2018, the University of Sheffield exposed 112 people to ASMR videos. About half the people experienced a response. The other half got nothing. So what's going on here? Well, some studies say that ASMR could be linked to misophonia, which is where hearing a sound could elicit a negative emotional and physiological response. Automatically, think of nails on a chalkboard, which for some people is intolerable. Intolerable. Why is that word in every script? Misophonia, like ASMR, could be a type of synesthesia, which is where experiencing one sense causes an involuntary reaction in a completely different sense. So people with severe synesthesia say they can hear colors or taste sounds. With misophonia and ASMR, hearing a certain sound is triggered
together. I can't even think about it without getting chills. It's definitely the most awful sound ever. Other common mesophonic triggers are chewing noises, lip smacking, tongue clicking, joint cracking. And those bother me too. Like if I'm in a restaurant and someone is slurping their soup, it's all I can do to not walk over there and punch them right in the face. I fantasize about it.
Yeah, let me ask you something. Is it hard being so neurotic?
Oh, it ain't easy. But just like some people find pain pleasurable,
Platypus.
sounds that are painful for some are actually pleasurable ASMR triggers for others. And there are hundreds of YouTube videos of people chewing and slurping and eating right in your ear. Now, I can't stand it, but that may be an ASMR trigger for you. So I will link to some of those videos below and you can check it out.
Constant reminders of your moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis can make it hard to be there when it matters most. If your symptoms aren't under control, it may be time to talk to your doctor about number one prescribed Entyvio. Entyvio has helped many people achieve long-term relief and remission. Doctors have been prescribing Entyvio for more than 10 years. Entyvio offers 2 maintenance options, including the Entyvio pen. Infusion and serious allergic reactions can happen during or after treatment. Entyvio may increase risk of infection, which can be serious. PML, a rare, potentially fatal brain infection, cannot be ruled out. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, sores, or are prone to infections. Liver problems can occur. Ask your healthcare provider about Entyvio. Relief, remission, for real. We've been telling clients it's nearly impossible to sell a home in winter. Not true.
There's also a visual element to ASMR. There are videos on YouTube showing people doing nothing but cutting bars of soap into little squares. Or shaving bars of soap into these thin curls and then crushing them into tiny little bits. This type of ASMR has been called visual white noise, and some people find it really relaxing. Other visual ASMR videos show people squishing their hands in buckets of slime, or pouring the colorful slime from one container to the other. And these videos have millions of views, so they're working for somebody. But what happens when we combine visual triggers with auditory triggers? We get the Greek god of ASMR, Bob Ross. Dr. Craig Richard, a professor at Shenandoah University, wrote a book called Brain Tingles, which is kind of an ASMR user's guide. Dr. Richard recalls experiencing ASMR as a child while watching Bob Ross paint. He said Bob would turn his brain into this enjoyable, relaxing fuzziness.
Tell you what, let's make a happy little sky.
I totally get that. And it's no surprise that Bob Ross is hugely popular in the ASMR community. He hits a ton of triggers. The scraping of the knives on the canvas, the repetitive whooshing of the brush strokes, Bob's gentle whispering play-by-play of the painting, the fluffy little clouds and the happy little trees.
We'll build a happy little cloud.
It's really relaxing, isn't it? Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Go ahead and hit that button. Don't smash the like button. We don't like that. Just gently rub the like button. There you go. That's nice. And didn't Bob make you feel like he was talking directly to you?
Think of this tape as a private lesson in my studio, and I've reserved this front row seat just for you.
This kind of intimate personal attention is common with ASMR. Brain scans of people experiencing tingles have similar scans to people that are being groomed or gently cared for. And for people with this trigger, it's not the touching that causes the tingles. It's the personal attention. Many ASMR content creators will role-play caring, grooming activities like hair washing, hair brushing, or blow drying. Now, the sound of a blow dryer does nothing for me, but for it, oh, all day long. Other creators, known as ASM artists, will role-play doing your makeup for you. Just like that. Or they'll pretend to be a teacher giving you gentle praise and reassurance.
So, welcome to your first day of class.
Some of these triggers may sound silly, but to people who are ASMR sensitive, the experience has been proven to lower their heart rate, reduce their blood pressure, and reduce levels of fight or flight hormones in their bloodstreams, hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. These are the same benefits that people get from meditation, so there might be something to this. Ooh, that was a good one. But why does ASMR work with some people and not others? Well, we don't know yet. Every individual has unique physiological characteristics, and there are other factors like the culture in which they live or the environment where they were raised. ASMR is just another example about how the human brain is fascinating and complicated and downright weird. And if being weird is wrong,
I don't want to be right.
platypus.
I hope that wasn't too painful. It was painful for me. I think the best thing that came out of that episode was the artwork that Rob did of the Bob Ross. I think I look okay with an afro. Next we got episode 122. Now we're getting into some good Wi-Fi stuff. This one is about the Hollow Earth and the lost city of Agartha.
Cultures around the world have myths that speak of a mysterious underground kingdom that exists deep within the earth, hidden away from the primitive and violent surface dwellers, which is us. Picture a society untouched by time, unscathed by war, and unaffected by natural disasters. A culture thriving in the vast open spaces inside the earth. Throughout history, many have looked for physical evidence of its existence, tempted by stories of a peaceful but powerful subterranean civilization with advanced technology and ancient knowledge long forgotten by modern man. This is the story of the underground kingdom of Agartha, and the explorers who've said that not only is it a real place, but they know where it is.
After all your hard work, you can't let anything stand in your way. That's why you have Cox Business, with personal 24/7 IT support beyond internet.
If patients use Pronamel clinical enamel strand, it will actually help to protect the enamel for a lifetime.
Stories of a hollow earth have existed in cultures for thousands of years. Nearly every ancient society has stories about an underground realm, often inhabited by superior beings. Buddhists firmly believe in the subterranean kingdom of Agartha, ruled by the mysterious king of the world.
Leonardo DiCaprio?
Agartha is said to be home to millions and connected to the surface by a vast tunnel network within the planet's crust. Indian religions speak of a place called Patala, which translates to that which is below the feet. Patala is described as a beautiful land full of rolling green hills and crystal clear lakes. Agartha is described the same way. Some believe this is the real Garden of Eden, that when God cast Adam and Eve out of the garden, he actually sent them to the surface. In an ancient Mayan text called the Popol Vuh, there is the story of Xibalba, an underworld civilization. And from Xibalba, twin brothers emerge, and like Adam and Eve, they became the first people above ground. Chicomastok is the place where the Aztecs emerged to live on the surface of the earth. It translates to 7 caves, and researchers are actually looking for it, and some think they found it. African and other Native American legends also mention subterranean realms and cavern spirits. The most consistent story is that of an advanced inner-earth civilization isolated from surface humanity. The Sumerians knew it as Ker, a void space or home of the dead. The Babylonians called it Urkala, another world ruled by gods. The Chinese call this underworld Diyu, and the Japanese call it Yomi. Ancient Egypt, Islam, Greek, Rome, even Celtic Irish, they all have myths of an underground world. More modern myths may call this place hell, but it can be argued that hell is a relatively new concept, that it's a construct designed to create fear and inspire good behavior. But before the concept of hell, the underworld was inhabited by advanced, godlike people who came to the surface of the earth. Once on the surface, they either created humanity or taught civilization to primitive humans. It's easy enough to interpret those as the same thing. And like the flood myth, which is present in every ancient culture, the inner earth story also appears over and over again. Recent theories point to the fact that a great flood did really happen. So when century, mathematician Leonard Euler used Fisk's calculations to hypothesize a hollow Earth with a central sun. Euler's calculations suggested that gravity would propel matter equally in all directions, forming speed.
Breaking news. The Netanyahu government not only detained, but they allegedly beat Hamdan Dagall, who was the Oscar winner for the documentary on the settlements in the West Bank. We need both accountability and transparency. More members of Congress need to speak up. We need to ask, why is it that Hamdan Dagall was detained? Did he have any due process? Was he beaten? And were the people who attacked him, are they going to be brought to justice and face accountability? This is the time for us to raise our voice for human rights. Breaking news. The Netanyahu government not only detained
The mechanical keyboard of the voice of America.
The only instructions added by the customer is to leave the order at the door.
1,000 miles an hour?
Okay, so empty air, stick to the ground, moving at 1,000 miles an hour.
Yep.
In perfect sync, everywhere on a big round ball.
Yes.
Agree to disagree.
We should be able to deport foreigners, have a unified language,